Today, we've got back on the show one of the first ever guests on the SSP way back in 2018, and he's going to be talking about a wide range of topics such as AMC, TikTok Shop, influencer marketing, and more. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed, organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of any level in the e-commerce world. And we've got back for like the fourth or fifth time here, somebody who was, I just noticed, was on the third ever podcast we did. He was like, might have been the first or second outside guest we ever had on the Serious Sellers Podcast, because it was episode 3. So if you guys can find episode 3, get his whole backstory. But like, I believe episode 1 was just like me and Manny Coates, and episode 2 might have just have been me or maybe Kevin King or something. But Liran was the first outside guest on the podcast, I think. So welcome back to the show. You've been on here for years now.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I know it's amazing to see how the space has evolved, how Helium 10 has evolved over time, and you've been a main anchor. You know, the one steady component of all of it. Has been you. So, thank you for having me on. It's great to be back on the podcast.
Awesome, and who am I wearing today? Well, we've got Beanie by Incrementum Digital. We're both matching there. I also consider this like we also have something called Insights Dashboard.
Oh, that's cool.
In Helium 10, so something similar. But yeah, this saved me. I think I was in Japan or somewhere where it was super cold. I didn't have any beanies, and I was like, Incrementum Digital had sent me a beanie, so that saved my ears from frostbite when I was in freezing temperatures recently.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're not here to talk fashion. Let's just catch up on different things. And the first thing I would say, let's see if you agree with me or not, but like 2024 was like the year of change on Amazon, whether it's fees, whether it's new things of advertising. Like I do not remember a year where there was more significant changes on those fronts, advertising, fees, things like that, than 2024. Would you agree with that? And then if so, like, what are some of the biggest noteworthy things for you?
Yeah, there were a lot of changes, and also Amazon, I would say, sharing a lot of changes, not just for sellers, but in general. Like Amazon introduces Rufus, and these a lot of changes in general. Shipments and placements and fees there. Amazon introducing more services and like a lot more people doing things like AWD, and I see Amazon even taking market share away from 3PLs that didn't have as good a year because of Amazon taking share there, partnership with TikTok. A lot of things evolving. One thing I would say I saw early in 2024 is we saw brands really starting to shift their focus to really focus on their profitability a lot, and put a focus there because of increasing fees and pressures there. I think some of that pressure for brands has improved somewhat. We now see brands that overall we see our clients doing better this December year over year, this January year over year. So hopefully some of that's in the past, and maybe some concerns with the economy and inflation, and again some of those things past due. But yeah, 2024 was a year of a lot of changes, and maybe starting on the pathway of how ultimately Amazon platform will change, and how like search results are going to change too. Because one thing I see as we get more into AI and search results is that in reality, when I search something and you search something, the search results should be different, because Amazon should have a good understanding of our shopping habits. For example, I was at lunch, like one of our neighbors here, and one of our neighbors was talking about buying on Amazon, and how the first thing she does is she does a search, and then she sorts by price from low to high. Right. I never shop like that. Right. I look at their reviews. It's not how I shop. I like lowest to highest price point.
Yep.
But that's how she shops. And I'm thinking, well, if she does that and Amazon knows that all the time, then why not just serve her up the results that way to begin with? Right. Because they know how she's shopping, or, serve her up into what she's most likely to buy. And I think now with AI, with things like Rufus, that while I don't necessarily see like people have made this huge transformation to shopping with Rufus, it's going to get better. And, some interesting things where advertisers are now better able to target audiences with advertising is another, I think, big shift that's coming this year. And you may not have heard about this yet, but you're going to start to hear more about how you can now use your own audiences to, or not, but your own audiences to target. So, for example, something that we're doing now is creating lookalike audiences, which historically you would think like, why wouldn't Amazon have that to begin with? Because like platforms like Facebook have had that for years, where you can kind of upload your email list or and create a lookalike audience. Well, now with Amazon and Amazon Marketing Cloud, you can create a lookalike of your highest spend customers and increase your bids for that lookalike audience.
And then where would those ads show up? Like, would it be for just when they're searching? Like, we're not targeting keywords per se, or is it targeting keywords specifically for those audiences, and just wherever those guys are shopping on Amazon, they're going to see those ads?
Yeah. So like the big shift is that, up until like very recently, you can say almost like now, you can only use AMC with DSP. And so it would be display ads that were showing on and off Amazon, and you can create this lookalike audience, and it would be towards that display audience. Well, now you can implement it for sponsored products. So if you're activating AMC for sponsored products, then you'll have like an audience tab, and you can actually add that audience there that you created, and you can increase your bid to that lookalike audience. So even on keywords, when that particular lookalike person, which is highly similar to somebody shopping from you, is doing a search, your bid would go from $1 to whatever, to $1.50 based on the percentage that you want to increase your bid. And so now, I'm kind of thinking, I had this conversation with somebody, and we were like thinking like, Amazon executives are sitting in a room, and they're like, cost per click is kind of flatlined, like, because at a certain point, you can't increase cost per click anymore.
Sure.
Because, it gets unprofitable for a brand. So like, hey, cost per click is flatline. What can we do to get brands to increase their cost per click and make more money on our advertising business? Well, if you can get the brand more closer to who they want to reach, they would be willing to pay more, because the theory is your conversion rate would be higher, which then it would be okay. And so it seems like, this was like a brilliant idea to get brands to find a way to increase their cost per click. And Amazon's doing this in a lot of ways, right? We've seen in the last few months, Amazon roll out B2B audiences, where you have business customers, and you can increase your bid to those business customers.
Makes sense when you have like these bulk product, or like, hey, I'm selling these packages of 1,000 masks that mainly go to schools or something. Well, I don't want to have to get clicks in the just the regular, a regular Joe Schmo is not going to have a very good conversion rate, or like it's not going to click on my product and buy it. So like to be able to just show it only to the business customers and schools and stuff makes a lot of sense.
Yesterday I was talking to somebody who came to us, a potential customer, and I saw that they're selling paintbrushes and things like that. And so the first question I asked them is, have you tested increasing your bids? Because like painters, right? Like people like that would normally maybe go to Home Depot or whatever, like might buy from you. And if they have an Amazon business account, you can increase your bids to those people. And they said, yeah, it's on our list, to test. And those are kind of things like people should be looking at right now. And Amazon does give you the results on those business customers. So you can easily see if that's like a placement, you want to get a better placement to get in front of those customers. And more, I see that's how, at least with advertising, you'll be able to get closer to who your target audience is and test. Okay, I want to pay more, but I don't want to pay more for my existing customers who buy from me. I want new to brand customers only. I want lookalike customers only. And Amazon's very interesting. It allows you even to set like, a lookalike audience based on customers that have spent X dollars with you in the last year. So if you have a supplement and it's $30, you can put in customers that have spent 100 with me that have bought a few times, and I want a lookalike audience to them, the propensity to buy from me. Or it gives you also like the types of audiences. I think one of the options we're starting to test is like balanced, because it's like kind of like it gives you different types of audiences that you can create for like propensity to buy from you. And so I think this is pretty cool. On the one hand, yes, it helps Amazon's advertising business because it gets you to increase your bid. But if I'm increasing my bid and I'm also getting a better conversion rate, then I think that could be a win-win. But if you're listening to this should be your sort of call out to figure out how can I get access to Amazon Marketing Cloud. Today, you can do it through tools, or agencies or tools, or unless you can get your own access to the Amazon Marketing Cloud, maybe if you're a bigger brand, through a rep that you have, etc. But generally today, it's going to be through tools. You should consider tools/agency or somehow to get access to it, because I think that's going to be one of the shifts that we're going to go into this year, with Amazon. And then if you think further out with Rufus, that ultimately the results are going to be more customized to the end customer, which again I think is a good win for Amazon if they're able to put more relevant products and solutions and in front of people. So this is I think what kind of this year is is an interesting shift, in the first time I think really a meaningful way that the search results are changing, other than just the way they've already been different is based on inventory being close to me, etc. I might see something different than you see. I'm in New York,
Yeah.
you're in Cali. But now I think it's meaningfully going to change based on how advertisers are going to start to position their bids to specific audiences, which is pretty cool.
What about on the analytics side of AMC? Because that's something that's now democratized, where in the past, the regular AMC actual targeting, that's still, you got to use an agency, you got to have a software to use it, have kind of bigger spend. But now AMC for the first time, as far as on the analytics reporting side, is available to just Joe Schmo, and even inside of Helium 10, we've got it because they made it available. So what should sellers out there who have never used that visibility before, what should be their priority as far as what they should be looking at? Is it more like trying to figure out that purchase flow of how their display ads and their video ads and product ads work together in that customer journey, or what's the highlight?
Yeah, so a couple cool things that Amazon has added. So yes, one, understanding that purchase flow and seeing how your purchase rate, it should be higher when customers are exposed to more ad types. And you can start doing some of your own calculations with attributing a cost. For example, if somebody sees sponsored ad, SB ad, SD ad, and the attribution goes to the last click, which maybe was SD, then maybe instead you can give a third of the attribution of that sale to each one of those ads, and figure out, because the person didn't start out with that SD ad, they ended up buying through that SD ad. So I think, trying to see which ad types are working well together, and how having, let's say, different ad types together, like sponsor brand, sponsor product, is creating either yes or no, higher purchase rate, and if it's worthwhile to run those ads together. So kind of understanding the customer journey and how multiple ad types work together, is one area. Another sort of related but interesting thing Amazon has added recently is long-term sales data. So now you can see in your reporting, beyond just the 14-day or 7-day attribution window, how sort of a ROAS based on beyond just that attribution window, and you'll see a higher ROAS, and you can see the impact of somebody first interacting with an ad, even though they didn't purchase within the attribution window, how ads are affecting your sales ultimately. So that's another cool thing Amazon has added. And recently in CES, they announced also that AMC data would now go back 5 years. It was going back, I think, 18 months until now. So you'll be able to analyze your audiences for a 5-year period, just more data. And I think this is a shift that's happened over the last few years. I think since Andy Jassy has come in, that Amazon has sort of opened up the floodgates to giving you as much data as possible, where in the past they, there were the days where Amazon will never give you the true search volume, or anything. You had to use tools for estimation. And now, you have brand analytics and search frequency and the query performance report and all these things, where Amazon's just giving you at the carts and all this stuff. And we thought we'd never see that. And that's, I think, Amazon overall philosophy becoming more open in a lot of ways. And you can see that now with Amazon opening up things like Buy with Prime to other websites. Their multi-channel fulfillment. They're opening up their warehouses can now do fulfillment from your website sales. They are they just announced at CES that they're opening up their advertising to
Mm-hmm.
other retailers. So now if you're selling on, like, we have clients that like on iherb.com that like in supplements, and we can actually run ads from the Amazon console on iherb.com, which is like, Amazon is sort of opening up their technology as a service to other retailers. So I think Amazon realizes, like, at one point they made the decision, they realized, okay, we're not going to be the only destination people are shopping at, but we want a piece of the entire pie with like the different services that we offer. And how can we get that, even if somebody is selling on Shopify or, now on like another website? How can we monetize that through our fulfillment network, through our advertising technology? And I think that's Andy Jesse's like philosophy, like AWS, which is running the cloud network for all, a lot of websites online. It's similar philosophy of let Amazon sort of be the underlying back end channel for advertising fulfillment. It'll be really interesting to see how many retailers take up Amazon on that.
Yeah.
Advertising as a service. It's a nice advantage, I think, to those brands that already know Amazon advertising and will be able to run those ads on other platforms. It's a nice competitive advantage.
Are you afraid of running out of inventory before your next shipment comes in? Or maybe you're on the other side and you worry about having too much inventory, which could cap you out at the Amazon warehouses or even cost you storage fees. Stay on top of your inventory by using our robust inventory management tool. You can take advantage of our advanced forecasting algorithms, manage your 3PL inventory, create POs for your suppliers, create replenishment shipments, and more, all from inside Inventory Management by Helium 10. For more information, go to h10.me/inventory management. And don't forget, you can sign up for a free Helium 10 account from there, or you can get 10% off for life by using our special podcast code SSP10. So another question I had, we've been talking along the lines of all these new things that are available to advertisers and brands is, I'm just curious, what are you doing differently in 2025 for some of the fundamentals? Because I feel like there's a lot of talk, like you said, like, hey, Rufus is going to change things later. Like, to me, it's not like yet, because it just kind of sucks from a consumer side. It kind of sucks. And so until it gets better, people aren't going to adopt it. But, there's people now saying, oh, you got to change all these things. For me, I'm not changing anything as a seller, just because a lot of the things that Rufus does, it's still based on the same principles. Right. Like I've never been one of those people who says, yeah, just stuff your keywords or stuff your listings with keywords, and that's the best thing. No, you've always should, hey, look at the reviews and bring in these things that aren't keywords and talk about pain points, which is exactly what Rufus is doing. So for me, like right now, Rufus is kind of like almost filling in the gaps of the people who aren't maybe doing all the best practices. And now it's kind of lessen that gap. But that means that if we were doing the best practices, there's not that much that we have to change. Launch changes, like little things here with launch, like I've always been using PPC for launch for the last few years. But I'm just wondering, the fundamentals of listing optimization, keyword research, basic advertising, not AMC. What are you doing differently in 2025 than say 2023, or things that you've incorporated in the last year for some of your bread and butter things, if anything?
Yeah. The one thing I would say with Rufus is that we are using it to, look at listings and look at the questions that Rufus is prompting you with, and making sure that you have those answers in your listing, right? So like you said, it's a way to find the gap between like a competitor and what you have in your listing, and making sure that you are answering those questions that Rufus is like prompting people to maybe ask about a product, and then making sure you have the answer, so that when the person does click on that or something, that Rufus has the right answer based from the listing. So I would say,
if somebody is asking that question on your competitor listing, they probably would ask it on yours, and so being ready for that is a good move.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say that's kind of how we're using it now, just like for best practices, making sure. But essentially, yes, listing fundamentals to me are the same. I think the things we are, I think ultimately a lot of the fundamentals are the same, but the things we're focused on is more testing, making sure advertising isn't cannibalizing your organic sales. We found we had a customer, we just did their like annual review, and we found that like pulling back on bids last year resulted in like much better performance. Like they had more sales. Their organic sales grew by 20%, because as a strategy we kind of pulled back on bids and maybe let their organic positions take the sales a lot of the time instead of the advertising positions, and they ended up just having a lower. They had like a 23% tacos in 2023, and they had like a 18% tacos in 2024. And we're talking like a pretty decent 38 million in sales on this brand this past year, and 30 million the year before. So they had stronger sales year, lower tacos, lower cost per click, just further optimizing, further testing, and using the data and the tools out there that we have to do that is like one of the things we're focused on, besides these new initiatives as far as like testing. But I think the main fundamentals haven't really changed. I do think brands really have to focus on a lot on their creative, their video, their creative. I think also brands should be, what they do outside of Amazon is important, very important now, just because you have more, especially if you're in a niche where you're competing with more like Chinese sellers, let's say, which is a lot of niches, but like maybe less so in like supplements or beauty or certain niches. But what's going to really help and save your brand in a lot of ways is branded searches, and because or influencer marketing or those things, doing those things outside, we're definitely doing things like creator connections. We're driving more sales. It's not the brand game changer, but it's definitely driving sales for brands. And I hope Amazon allows you to do more with it, like reach out to influencers and making it a better tool. But I think brands really need to do things outside, work with influencers, be on the platforms, Instagram, TikTok, wherever, YouTube Shorts, wherever social commerce is happening, whether TikTok is here or not here, in order to drive those branded searches on Amazon and grow those branded searches, because that puts you in a position of not just competing on price and not just competing on, on reviews. Like I won't, chances are, if you look through my history of buying, you won't find me buying a product that has 10 reviews on Amazon.
Yep.
But yesterday, my wife sent me something she saw from an influencer, and it was a toy product, like maybe for my son, and it had like 100 something reviews. Again, like that might be something I bypass normally, like 100 something reviews in toy category. But I looked at it like, oh, cool, it looks kind of interesting, whatever. And that's because an influencer was talking about it and was already showing the product. And you have that transfer of social proof from the other channel coming into Amazon, where the things like, whether it's now the cheapest or somebody else has 1,000 reviews, an influencer already recommended it. I already trust it. I'm going to buy what they recommended because they've tested it, already played with it, whatever, and they recommend it, right? So yeah. I think those things just become overall more important for brands if they want to get out of competing on Amazon just based on the traditional things of the marketplaces, which is a lot about reviews and price. And that's, I think a big shift. And I think we're seeing growth of more and more Chinese sellers on the platform, according to like Marketplace Pulse and, other data sources. So, and, by the way, as we have AI, we just had this announcement on like DeepSeek and like AI, it's going to get easier for those non-English speaking brands to have better content and, better understanding of the consumer and how to position your brand, who's your target audience, and doing all these things. So, I think right now your edge is on, I think sellers in the US have always done better on the branding side and the marketing side. And those levers I think you have with working with influencers, reaching out, I have somebody on my team, Kate, Kate launched her own product. And she was trying to figure out funding and everything else. And she put it on Shopify as just like a pre-orders. And she made like a unique product. She reached out to influencers, and she sold 6 figures on pre-orders in the last few months, just with influencers promoting it because they love the product. And that's unbelievable. That's amazing, right? And my initial advice to her was, and she's applying for a patent, utility patent on this product, is like, don't put it on Amazon until you get the utility patent, because as soon as it's on Amazon, this product is made in China. The Chinese sellers are going to copy it. You won't be able to enforce it while the patent is pending. The strategy we have right now, I mean, if it's converting, pretty decently with pre-orders with influencers, like that's a great strategy once you have inventory, and ads are working well too, even during pre-order. And so like those strategies. And then when she does launch it on Amazon, let's say a year from now, she launches that product on Amazon, she's going to have the branded searches already there. Like, it's going to be that
Yep.
much easier, right? People are already going to probably see it somewhere else. And it's going to be, instead of pushing uphill on a launch, it's like pushing downhill, right? And so I think you need to think about your strategies for launching and how you do things. I'm not saying don't launch on Amazon first, but I think you want to have that outside strategy too, and it becomes more important today, if you don't, want to compete, on price and reviews, or it lessens the amount of time you have to be out of profit just to push a lower price point, etc., until you build up enough reviews to kind of be relevant.
Yeah.
And I think maybe even where we are now over 2 years ago, platforms like TikTok, for example, are really influencing what people are buying on Amazon, right? And on Shopify. And so I think you want to have that as part of your strategy. And even now, as you are selecting your product, right, that you want to think about how, how is this going to play out? What's the strategy for like social or influencers with this product? Because if you have a product like this person that's selling paintbrushes, I mean, hard to. Now that's a brand that's been on Amazon, I think, for years. They have like a bestseller, paintbrushes, etc. 20,000 reviews, and okay, but if I'm launching paintbrushes today on Amazon, I'm gonna have a really hard time. And then like going and making that a viral sensation is going to be very difficult too. And so thinking about the products that you want to launch, before, going back to when I think we got started with Amazon, you would launch whatever as long as it was like opportunity, right? Like you use something like X-Ray, you would, a black box, you'd find the opportunity, and you would launch it, and you could do it on Amazon because there's a line between the amount of supply and demand. But I think today you can't do that. You have to think about what's going to be, what's going to be beyond that also. And that's, I think, a shift for, 2025. And I hope Amazon takes more steps in the direction of things like creator connections and other opportunities that are allowing
live shopping, trying to figure out why US hasn't picked up on that like China and other places. But along those lines, like we're talking about marketplace, we're talking about influencer marketing. 2 years ago, if somebody were to ask us maybe, hey, I'm selling on Amazon, what's the no-brainer marketplace I should just go ahead and list my products on? I think maybe people might have said Walmart as like, all right, yeah, you're not going to try and match your sales, but you've got the product in the United States. That's the easiest and most obvious next step.
Right.
I would almost say this year, for now, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with different things, but I would almost say that before Walmart, you've got to be considering TikTok Shop. 100%. Would you agree with that?
1,000%. I've thought the same thing over the last year, because with Walmart, we kind of know what you're gonna get on Walmart. You're gonna get anywhere between 5, maybe up to 20% of what you do on Amazon, depending on the brand of what's the potential there. With TikTok, you have the potential to go viral. You have the potential to blow out. I think we both know the seller that was doing these like groove handwriting, that his wife was a stay-at-home mom, homeschooling her children. And
yes, before they joined they started their TikTok journey, they learned about TikTok at the same event that you spoke at there in New York. I totally forgot about that.
And you know what? And I did some of his Amazon advertising, and then they stopped doing Amazon. They said, look, we have so much inventory demand for TikTok. TikTok is 80-90% of our business, and Amazon is like 15-20%. Like, we're pausing like working with Amazon. Amazon was just like so small on their business. TikTok was massive for them. They did so well on TikTok, and that's because they had the right product, that very visual, very targeted, right price point, and they crushed it on TikTok. And you couldn't do that on Walmart, right? Walmart, Amazon and Walmart are for people to kind of search and find what they're looking for, and TikTok is to help you discover the things you don't know you need, that you need or that you want. And you have that massive ability. Now, I think TikTok and Amazon work very well together, because, if I see something on TikTok that's interesting, I'll probably just go to Amazon and search for it. I bought something on TikTok Shop just to see what the experience was like, and it was fulfilled by TikTok. It was interesting. It took about 4 or 5 days till I got in. It was a fine experience, but I'm just going to go buy. I have Prime. I'm just going to go buy it on Amazon and get it really quickly, right? So I think they work very well together, and it makes your TikTok will make your Amazon business stronger. It will not make your Walmart. Walmart will not make your Amazon business stronger, or So I think unless you're going into you have a plan to go into Walmart retail, they want you to really do well and online there, etc. Yes, I would. TikTok would be my go to for sure as any secondary channel. Again, along with maybe like Shopify, if that's a focus, but I think TikTok is just like where, ultimately it's where people are. Again, especially if you have the right product towards like the demographic that's on there, I think you can create certain products. Like if I'm thinking today about, a product like beauty crushes on TikTok. Why? It's very visual. It's demonstratable. I can see instant, maybe before and after, one of our clients is a brand called Satchu. If I'm saying it right, SACHEU. They have this lip liner. Now, I'm only an expert on lip liner because of the client now. But they have this lip liner that you put it on and you leave it on for like 5-10 minutes, and then you kind of peel it off and it creates this like color and more plump lips or whatever. And they have also the bestseller on Amazon, and it's, yes, we're running ads and we're doing things on Amazon, but it's because this product has gone viral on TikTok, like celebrities and all this stuff on TikTok. And you can never achieve that on Walmart. And so I think even now, as you're thinking about what product am I going to launch, you want to look into those categories and where you think you could be, and like how demonstratable is this product? And if I'm going to launch, let's say I'm going to launch a baby product. Well, can I get a baby on my videos, or do I need a baby on my videos to do that? Is that going to be harder? Unless again, you have established brand and you're thinking about how to do it. But like, I would really think about how is this going to play off, what my strategy could be for social commerce, social media, and how is that going to feed into, Amazon's always talked about the flywheel, but now the flywheel is sort of like social media, and Amazon working really well together. And how can I feed it into that, total flywheel together? I think, if I'm looking to launch a brand or launch products, on Amazon, I'm looking at trends, and I'm looking at how things are doing on TikTok. Now TikTok can show me the sales. I mean, essentially the sales, because it shows me how many units people have sold on their product. So I get a lot of data there. And then you have all the data that Amazon has with reviews and listings and, and search volume and everything else, that like your product research should shift into like what can work really well together. Because I absolutely agree that Walmart would not be the second channel I launch after Amazon, none anymore, because I think I could do so much more. Again, at least with the right product, so much more on on a TikTok as opposed to on Walmart. And it'll be interesting to see who ends up buying it. Now they say Microsoft is in talks, but like could have been a great purchase for like a Walmart. To come in. And Walmart's had some like partnerships with TikTok too. We had one of our clients had done special advertising with Walmart, and they had a partnership with TikTok where the ads on TikTok only showed to Walmart customers. So they had a partnership with TikTok too. So could be a great purchase for them. But it'll be interesting to see who buys it and if it can maintain. But I think the point is that no matter what, it's proven now, right? Like, and somebody will some platform will come up, or Instagram will pivot, or to kind of do more of what TikTok is doing if it's not around. But I believe it'll stay around, and there'll be some kind of deal formed.
Yeah, it's got it's not just going to go away. All right, before we get into your last strategies of the day, how can people find you on the interwebs out there?
Sure. So I'm on LinkedIn, Liran Hirschkorn. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I'm on TikTok too, but you may see some dancing videos too, if you go on there. But you can find me there, or Liran, Liran at incrementivedigital.com, or through our website. You can reach out to me. We do a lot of audits for brands, so happy to talk to you about your brands, or if you have any questions in general. One thing we want to consider offering this year is like this AMC as a service, helping you set up audiences and things, even if we're not running your ads. So we're considering doing that. Maybe that's something you want to talk about, you're interested in. Maybe is something we can kind of start to beta, because we do think it's going to be more important, and we can help like set up your audiences so you have access to it, even if you want to run ads, on your own.
Nice.
So you can feel free to reach out.
Favorite Helium 10 tool?
I love, first of all, what I use every day, is I use X-Ray every day. And it's...
Do you like the new features we have? How we have the the child item sales now, where in the past I mean, we used to have that like 7 years ago or something, but we haven't had that for years.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. I also love all the, which you've had for a while, but like the keyword suggestions and search volume you see on top. Just when I'm searching something on Amazon, sometimes do a screen share with the customer or whatever, and like shows them all the keywords and search volume. So I love that. It's a tool that, it's a must have. Tool, obviously a lot more, reverse ASIN and keyword tracking. And now there's the market share data, and just a lot there. But it's a tool. I think in my company, we have like 4 or 5, Helium 10 accounts that we use, because of the amount of quantity that, that we're using it. So, love Helium 10. And, like I said, you've been the steady hand, in the company, since like, I know Helium like 2017 when Manny first started it.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. It's been, a lot of people jump around, I think, and you and I are definitely not in that crowd. We've kind of stuck with our original companies. Yeah. Last like 30 or 60-second strategy for sellers, that's something actionable they can work on.
I think if you haven't implemented creator connections, play with it for sure. It's no risk. You give 20% commission. You can drive significant sales depending on your product and demand for it. But I think that's really worthwhile to play with this year if you haven't implemented that. And then test out things. Look at your B2B placement and sales on your ads, and see if you want to increase bids for that, like low hanging fruit of things. And of course, I will just add brand tailored promotions, another great way to drive sales if you haven't implemented that.
Awesome. All right. Well, Liran, thank you so much for joining us. You've been on this show since like 2018, and next year, 2026, would love to reach out to you and bring you back to see. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of new stuff to talk about. So in the meantime, feel free to keep sending me the Incrementum digital swag, and I'll be repping it when I can.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me on. Look forward to the next one.